Hey everyone, welcome. I wanted to take a moment to unpack the story behind Converge Coaching and the logo design that we created for them. In fact, the entire branding that we created for them. This was a wonderful project that we enjoyed working on. This is the what you're looking at right now is the logo design created for Converge Coaching. And John had come to us, John Opalewski. He's the guy behind Converge Coaching. It's an organization that provides coaching to pastors in churches to help them level up, to help them go to that next level of maybe it's multi-site, maybe it's a building campaign, maybe it's maybe they're in decline actually, and maybe they're stagnant, and they just need to be able to figure out how do they get out of that. So John, that's what he does, and he came to us, and basically his need was to level up his own marketing. Much of what he did was word of mouth. That was his marketing. So he wanted to level up and go on the offense, where he's seeking people to come into contact with his brand. He went out and he got some great software to help him do some marketing, and he knew that he needed to make sure his branding and what he presented, his website and all those different things are going to be in line with the vision that he has and represents the excellence in the service that he provides. And also he needed to communicate that really well. What are the services that he provides? How does he provide them? And what are the benefits that people are going to see? So he knew he needed help. He's a coach. He does this for churches, but it's hard to see it for yourself. So he reached out to us and asked us if we could help him create this branding for Converge Coaching so that he can level up his marketing and be able to scale up his own business, his own coaching business. He wanted to get some more speaking engagements, more clients that would hire him to come out and help them turn their church around or level up their church. So that was the purpose of what he came with. So with our process, it was so much fun working with John, and really I just love doing what we do. We get to help discover the business and the vision that it has, and then we get to create a great story that we get to tell. We get to help this business or the church tell this story that people want to be a part of and contribute to. So it was great. So we created some branding. Like I said, on the screen right now, you can see the actual logo design that we created. Now, if you've been watching our stuff for any amount of time, you know that branding is not a logo. It's not just a logo. A logo is just a piece of it. Branding is the story. It's the entire thing that people need to know in order to create a perception about who you are. So perception is really what a brand is. And honestly, you can't tell people your brand. People actually tell you their brand. So perception is what people say about you. And you need to be able to have that be in line with the vision of what you're wanting to create. And that takes intentionality. It doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about it. So this logo design for Converge Coaching is a reflection of John's vision. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, and we're gonna just geek out with me a little bit on this logo design. It's a design that has two pieces to it. There's the word section of it, that says Converge Coaching, and then up above it we have a mark. So it's a combination mark that we designed for John. We wanted to give him a lot of flexibility with his marketing to be able to do a lot of different types of marketing. So let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit more here. Get this centered up for you so that we can take a really good look at the design. So the mark at the very top is a combination of elements that reflect how John works. Like this is how he does what he does. It reflects. That's what a good brand, that's what a logo should do. It really tells a story about who you are. So even if people can't understand it, like right now you might be looking at this and you're like, oh, that's a nice design, but you don't know the story behind it. And but that's okay. Like you don't have to know the story behind it. But as a designer and as a client, if you're a client looking for a logo to be designed for you, it needs to be unique to who you are. And because it needs to be unique, there has to be a story. So a good designer is going to unpack a story behind the design. Everything has to have a purpose so that It's not just done just because. Like, that's not good design. That's one of the things that, as a designer, graphic designer is my background. I take pride in that, and designers do that. We kind of geek out on that whole thing, and I think it's important. It needs to be functional first, because the purpose that John has is that he needs to market his company. So we can't go crazy about, hey, we have to have every little thing working design-wise, but there really does need to be a story element to your logo design, so that it has a great, unique feel to it. So let me unpack the story behind John's design so you can see what I mean. So the mark on the top looks like a C. So Converge Coaching, there's actually 2 C's in the name of the organization. So we use the letter mark, but the letter mark is very unique. So you can kind of see in the middle there's an arrow. The white space creates an arrow pointing left. So left is inward. That's just kind of a symbol for inward. If you were going to the right with an arrow, symbolically that's moving forward or going out. So that's kind of design, I guess, geek talk, just for us to consider. But an arrow to the left kind of points inward. So that's what John does. He takes a look at the organization, helps the pastor, the leader, reflect inward for the organization, and then helps them move forward. Around the outside, the C is broken into 7 parts. So if you actually counted them, there's 7 parts to the C, and that's reflecting John's 7-step process. So the C has these lines, and it's divided, and it's multicolored because John has a 7-step process that he takes people through. He looks inwards, and then he has a 7-step process, and then it's a C because of Converge, C, and Coaching, CC. So that's where that logo, that mark came from. And then we have the words themselves, Converge Coaching. They're clean and sophisticated. They're going to be elegant. They're not going to be too trendy where they're not going to look good after a few years. It's going to look good for a long time. We wanted some longevity for the logo so that the brand itself could stand around for a long time for John to be able to use it. So there's 2 variations. We have this variation, and we have a horizontal variation. So we call it either a stacked version or a horizontal. Horizontal is going to be great for a website. The stacked is going to be great for just about everything else. So we just created a rule that said, hey, there's 2 versions of this logo, and it looks like this. It's stacked or it's horizontal. We also created some variations that help it to be used in different contexts. So we're kind of laying out here just a few different ways that the logo can be used ideally. So we're saying, hey, purple background with white, or we can use a dark background with keeping some of the colors, just reversing the letters out to white. And then we can use a mark by itself. So we're giving John some good options. Here's maybe what it looks like on some letterhead. Here's a little bit of what it might look like on a t-shirt. Here's what it might look like for some swag that he might give away at a trade show of some kind. So we're defining a lot of this stuff for John. Here's some fonts that we decided on, and here's some brand colors that we decided on that would go well as he creates more marketing content. So that's the logo design. If anybody would like to know a little bit more about this, leave a comment, and then we can describe some of that. So the other part about designing a brand, so there's a logo piece and then there's a brand piece. So a brand guide helps us to design the brand for John. So the brand guide looks like this. And we have 5 different parts of the brand that we want to help design. So number 1 is brand identity, brand strategies, number 2, brand voice is number 3, number 4 is brand visuals, and number 5 is brand execution. So I'll go through this document really quick. But I just wanted to show it to you because this is what it really means to design a brand, to be strategic about a brand. So a brand strategy, this is the piece that I'm getting ready to show you right now. It helps you make decisions in the future that's in line with the logo and the website. So there's 2 worlds. There's a visual world where we're visually presenting something, or even just putting some messaging out there about, hey, this is who we are. You should buy our product, our service, or come to our church if you're a church. And then there's also the strategy. And the strategy needs to support. They need to work together so that when you say something, present something visually, or you say something to the community, when they come and they experience this thing they bought into, it needs to line up. It needs to be consistent with what you said you were doing, or what you were offering. That's really what builds a brand. That's what builds that perception that we were talking about earlier, to where people say about you what you want them to say about you, or you're hoping that they would say about you. So again, branding is perception. It's what people say about you. Marketing is the experience that you provide that's in line with that vision that you want for people to have of you. So marketing is the experience that then helps people to have the right perception about who you are. So hopefully that helps you as you move forward, understanding the difference and how to utilize that as you create your branding for that. So we actually like, there's a book called Building a Story Brand that is by Donald Miller. And so we use a process that, it's actually a process we've had for a long time, but he wrote this great book that kind of explains it in a very cool way. So it's a great book. In fact, if you want a link to that, I can provide you a link to that book on Amazon to where you can get it. So if you're looking to rebrand anytime soon, if you're a church especially, or nonprofit, really any business, it's just a great resource that you can have to learn about branding and the power of branding. So I'm typing it up right now so I can send you a link. There we go, to where you can get that. So check that out. It'll be down in the comments area. So check it out. Great book. It'll help you quite a bit. So we like to use that idea of this story brand and invite people into it. So this is just some strategy that we put together to help this happen. So actually, let me turn my screen back on. I don't think it's on. Here we go. So we help people walk through this process, walk through a marketing strategy, want them to create a personality. So your brand actually has a personality. It's kind of like you're a person. Like, what would, if your church was a person, what would be their personality? So that helps you be consistent with your voice and what you present out there. So we also want to help create some brand visuals, some standards, basically is what we're talking about. We would create some standards so that your brand is consistent, because really consistency is what helps to build that recognition that people, when they see it on the highway, passing by at 60 miles an hour, they understand what it is, because there's a consistent presentation of your brand over time. So this section of the branding guide just allows there to be that consistent factor. Like these colors have all the values that you'd want. So every single time you use the color, you can punch in these values in your software to get the exact color that you want. Or if you print a t-shirt, you're going to be able to get the exact color that you want because we have values that are punched in there. This is kind of a research page of like, hey, if we present our brand to the community, this is kind of the feel we'd want. And then this is John's is a speaker, so we're saying, hey, we want photos of you in this context. So yeah, that's what we created. This is a brand guide. So I want to take a moment just to go through that fairly quickly, but help you understand like what it is to build a brand. But what does it look like to actually put together a brand? It's more than a logo. It's going to help to take John from where he's at in his marketing and level that up, because now we have a very clear playbook of this is who we are. This is the language that we're going to use over and over and over again. These are the visuals we're going to use over and over and over again. So over time, it's going to build, and it's going to help him get brand recognition, and people are going to know who he is and trust him. Trust is a really big key to branding because trust really helps people to buy your services, buy your product, or buy the idea of I should come to your church. So I know that we're doing this is Church Brand Guide, but we do work with other companies to create branding as well as churches, working with churches to create branding like you've seen here. And it applies on both sides. Like there's not a difference between a church or a business trying to present a brand. It's the same idea. And what we found as we work with churches especially is that, man, this stuff is super powerful. Churches already have this stuff. A lot of times it's in the head of the pastor or maybe in the heads of like a leadership team. And when we go through this process with the church, we just get to pull that out of the just being in somebody's head, put it on paper, and allow other people now to run with it. And that's really the power of the branding process. So the result, just real quick, let me jump over to the result. So we created this branding with John, and let me click over again to where you can see my screen. So we created this branding with John. His logo looks great. You know, it's a nice logo design. We have the brand document that I showed you, and a great strategy. So let's take a look now at what that looks like to build out a physical piece. So the first part of a brand that we want to build is the website. Let me see if I can find it here. Here we go. So this is what the Converge Coaching website looks like, and this is what it actually looks like to apply all that strategy that we just talked about. This is the language that we came up with. These are the visuals that we came up with. This is the user experience that we came up with. We're able to choose what platform to build a website on because we have the clarity of what John's trying to create. We were able to create call to action, like, hey, with John, when people go to your website, what's the next step for them? We're able to answer that question because we have the clarity. The design is really fueled by the audience he's trying to reach. So we're designing something, the colors, the fonts, the look and feel of this web page is all designed because we have clarity about who we're trying to reach and who we're trying to engage with. So we're going to go to the a few pages here on the website so that you can kind of see. This is the About page. So this is where we're providing some credibility for John. Testimonials, basically, is what I'm talking about. Social proof is a big deal. So we want to make sure that John has social proof on his website. And we're, at the very top, we have some testimonials, a little bit about who John is, and then we have some nice visuals that break down what he does and how he helps people. So this website is really designed to allow people to browse through. It's not a brochure where you have to, or a book where you have to read a lot. It's a great combination of visuals and text to help you just learn enough to make a call, to ask John to reach out to you and set up a consultation. So the call to action that we decided on for the website based on the branding is that there needs to be a free consultation that John does so that people can be served by John, and then from there learn how he can help them. So this is the services page, unpacking what he provides, the services that he provides. Again, we have some nice animations and some nice visuals happening. That is part of branding. You can kind of see how the colors, the color palette is executed. For John, you can see the calls to action that we've implemented. You can see a graphic treatment in the background where we've got this coaching graphic, kind of a football graphic happening. So again, all those things are coming from the branding process where we were helping John just figure out what's his strategy on the marketing side, and then we're executing it through the website to where, here, let's actually build this out. So this is one of the things we discovered is John needed to offer a free download of some kind that can help people right now. So we created these a couple PDF ebooks that people can download, and on the website you can just enter in your name and email and have free access to some of John's coaching. And that is just going to help him to get people to receive value and then make that next step to call or contact John. So there's a contact page, which is an important page. One of the strategy pieces was how do we want people to engage with you? So at the very top, we have a calendar where you can schedule a time with John for that free consultation. So we decided the brand strategy was that, hey, there's a free consultation that allows John to help you, and then from there, he can tell you what other services he provides. John is also a big blogger, so this website has a very robust blog. And blogging is really great because it gets you out there online. So Google sees all these blogs and ranks your website well, helps you to be found because you've got all these different articles that are branded with who you are. So yeah, this is a look at John's website and the result of our branding process. So Just to recap everything we talked about here, John had a problem. He needed to get marketing out there to be more on the offense so that he can reach more people with his services, get more speaking engagement. He also has some products that he sells, so he just wants to get that out there a lot more. His starting point was to get a brand strategy with us, so we were able to help John put together a strategy based on his desires and what he wants to do moving forward. We put together a plan, a playbook, a brand guide to help John get some clarity about language, calls to action, all the different marketing things that a good product or service needs. And then we were able to provide some results for him by building a website. So the website is the manifestation, the physical representation of all the branding. It's got the logo, it's got all the verbiage and wording that we've talked about, the strategy, everything's applied there. It's got calls to action, everything's part of that. And now from here on out, John's got a lot to work with. If he wants to produce a flyer or maybe a trade show booth or anything like that, he could just go to the website, use his brand guide, pull from those things, and have a lot of stuff to work with. So we do this with churches. Just want to let you know, we at Church Brand Guide, there's a page that we have. In fact, let me go to it real quick. It's our services page. You can get to it on the upper right-hand side. Just breaks down a little bit of our services. Really, if I have to oversimplify what we do, is that we help you create a strategy, and then we help you build a website from that strategy. Included in there might be a logo design. Also might be some video content or photography. In fact, behind me, let me click over real quick. Behind me, you can kind of see some of the strategy that I had yesterday with a church in Ohio, where we're going through a lot of these things. In fact, right there, you might recognize there's a diagram up here that. So normally, what I do is I draw it all out on a video conference call, and then after we get done with it, your team, myself, we go through this process. We put a lot of stuff up, and then I create these documents that are really nice and present nice, and then we can refine the strategy together. I just help you build it together. I'm not creating ministries. I'm not trying to create anything really. I'm just taking what is already there inside of you and inside your church, and we're just documenting it and making it so that other people can run with it, so that you can communicate it well and with consistency. So that there can be a cohesiveness in the experience that you build that's in line with your vision. And that's really what we do. And it starts with your strategy. It goes into building a website for you, and then from there you can take it to whatever level you need to, because you'll have the clarity that you need. So hey, thanks for joining me today. Again, we just took a look at the Converge Coaching brand design, which included a logo and then their website. And hopefully that helps you unpack what a brand is, like what it means to build a brand. I also presented to you a resource. It was the Donald Miller book called Building a Story Brand. And I'll also provide a couple of links after I'm done to in the comments area, one to our services page, so churchbrandguide.com. And then there's a services page in the upper right where you can kind of learn a little bit more or contact us to just have a free consultation call with us, to where you can learn more about what we do. And also, we just love to help you. So if you wanted to ask some questions, we'll just let you know some stuff that you can do. Church Brand Guide is full of resources. Check that out as well. Thanks again for joining me. My name is Michael Prasad with Church Brand Guide. And hey, John with Converge Coaching, thanks again for choosing to work with us. And I know you're thrilled with your results. And it was a really great process to work with you with Converge Coaching. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.